Reviewing the foundations is essential because once we know the foundations, it's sort of like math. We can apply it to everything that we're experiencing. So, one of the big ones is in dynamic meditation is the feeling of wanting. Okay? And later on, we're going to talk about the feeling of wanting versus having feeling. Now, in the Buddhist tradition, the very first premise is that desire is the basis of all suffering. And I used to not understand that. I used to not understand why desire caused suffering. But through Lester Levinson, I learned that he basically translated it, and it was very helpful that he translated it. Basically, desire in the form of wanting, in the form of the feeling of wanting, right, causes suffering. When we're having the feeling of wanting, we're actually having the feeling of lacking. And it's a hollow, negative, and maybe painful feeling. For example, if we're alone and we're longing, we're in the feeling of constantly longing for someone. Or if we're always longing for money, or if we're longing for our spouse or our child or our parent to be different. It's an achy feeling, and even as I'm talking, maybe you can get in touch with it. I'm going to lead you through a meditation where you do get in touch with it. But first, I really want to describe that what we're saying is that longing feeling, right? That feeling causes suffering. Why? Because nothing's ever enough. That's one, right? We are not present in the moment. I certainly think that's what the Buddhist meant. That we're not in our life now and appreciating or being thankful for our life now. Longing also always in dynamic meditation, we have all sorts of slang, but one of the things that we say, it's we're always living over there, correct? It's like the story of the matchbook girl, where she's always longing, looking into a window where on the inside there's a hearth and there's a fireplace and there's a family. And we are, and she is, and we are on the outside of that. Okay? One of the ways that I like to describe it in my classes is we're window shopping, right? Why does everyone else have a partner? Why does everyone else have money? We're constantly looking outside of our life and longing for that over there. That's important to remember, correct? And so we're never looking inside our life and saying, what do I have now? What am I thankful for now? Bringing us back to now. And some of you might say, well, but now is too painful. Now is too hard. My life is too hard right now. Okay, I get that. I understand that. But that constant living in the world of longing and lacking and wanting never advances your life. Okay, so let's go into the neuroscientific or the mind, approaching it from a mind perspective of what longing does. Basically, because of perceptual field, right? Because of anything that we're experiencing or the way that we perceive something, correct, is actually what's going to get externalized for us. Okay, and we have a very basic way of talking about that, right? If I am longing for a partner, if I'm wanting a partner, really what I'm experiencing is a feeling of lack. So what will happen in my perceptual field, what I will constantly see is that I don't have, and that over there they have. Okay? So my experience of lack actually facilitates that I see the world as having and me lacking. Okay, whatever is happening on the internal will get externalized. So instead of seeing that more money is coming, or that someone bought me a cup of coffee today, or that there was enough money for gas, what I'm constantly seeing is that there's never enough. And notice, when you have that never enough program going on, it happens in two ways. You have the never enough program for someone else, right? They're not enough. It's not enough. The raise wasn't enough, right? It's never enough. But you also have it about yourself. Don't be fooled, right? Either way, it's never enough. You're not enough and they're not enough. Okay, so it's a vicious circle. The wanting and the lacking and the feeling of not having is continuous. The last part of this is that on AgFlap, right, on our feelings, wanting falls under lust. And what do we mean by that? Not sexual lusting, although that can be a possibility when it comes to addictions, right? Addictions are all about wanting, all about it. You can't get enough. You can't get enough. When you're drinking, when you're eating, when you're drugging, porn, you can't get enough. Okay? And with wanting, the feeling is, so even if it's as benign as, I want to buy a new house, I want a bigger house, I want a bigger car, the feeling is nothing's ever enough. You have to have the next step and the next project and the next thing. Now that's different from saying, I'm full of life energy, I feel like I have, so I'm going to go for all possibilities. Very different energy than the sad, hollow, powerless feeling of not having, of lacking. So I really want to make all of that clear before we move into this meditation. So, as in all of my meditations, I want you to notice right now where the meditation is beginning, because the next time you come back to this, you can skip the intro, although the intro is always helpful in terms of background and repeating new thinking. But if you want to skip the intro, that's fine, and you can move right into the meditation. Okay? So the meditation, the purpose of the meditation is that we're going to move from wanting into having. Okay? We want to move from the feeling of wanting into the feeling of having. They're opposite feelings, and the feeling of having, right, is what makes us feel that this life is good, that we have what we want. And in having, more comes to us. Correct? If the internal becomes the external. When we experience having, more having comes. Okay, so go ahead and dip in, and we always do this together. I do it with you. I want you to pull up anything that you're wanting or lacking. A love relationship or money, health. Maybe you want your body to be different. And so I want you to notice what that feeling feels like. Is it in your chest or in your stomach? Does it hurt? Does it feel like lust, like you can't stop wanting more and more and more? Doesn't matter how it comes up, even if you cry a little. I just want you to say yes to it. Don't deny it anymore. And say yes to the wanting some more. And remember, what we're saying yes to, every time we say yes, is because the feeling wants to leave you. You're filled with wanting and longing. No more. No more. So open up that door or that window inside of you, that tube. And the feeling of wanting says, yes, can I go? And you say, yes. And yes, some more. And yes, even more. And yes, even more. Really open up your hands, drop those shoulders, and let all of that wanting come. And I'm a big proponent, as you know already, of desperate wanting. Why? Because we're so embarrassed and ashamed of how desperate we feel. Sometimes we're just so desperate for money. We're so desperate for our partner. We're so desperate for an answer. Sometimes we're just looking for an answer and we're desperate. So let it all out of your body. And if you cry, if it feels angry, if it feels frustrated, let it up. Say yes to your desperate wanting. Really yes, hail it. And say yes some more. And say yes even more. And say yes even more. Remember, we very rarely allow or identify our wanting. So we're going to allow it all to come up and leave us. And yes, even more. Now, because we always check for results and we want to see that this is working, I want you to check in and see if you're feeling any lighter. We're letting this wanting come up because we have the great incentive. As long as the wanting and the longing is gone from inside of us, we can move into the feeling of having. Right? Even when we're wanting safety or wanting control or wanting approval, notice that the word want comes before the survival programs. Right? Buddha or Lester Levinson would say that once we get rid of all wanting, everything will fall into our lap. Let me repeat that. When you let go of all your wanting around this subject, when you let go of your longing for it will fall right into your lap. This is worth doing. And so even right now, let go of wanting it to fall into your lap. That will happen on its own. So say yes to wanting some more. And now we're going to train your mind. Can you let go of wanting so that you can move into having? And your answer is yes. And go ahead and say it out loud. Can you let go of wanting so that you can move into having? Yes. Can you let go of wanting so that you can move into having? Yes. Can you let go of wanting this so you can move into having it? And yes. Okay, I'm going to open my eyes and I'm going to rejoin you. And you can repeat this over and over. Remember, really, if you let go of wanting, it's at the very top. Everything else falls underneath. You can let go of wanting anything. Your life gets filled with having. Okay? That's where we're headed. Well, thanks for joining me again today. Say yes.